What's happening, guys? Kenny here again, and today I'm gonna be in the workshop, as you guys see. And what I'll be working on today is I've got a few projects going on, and what I'll be doing is I'll be sanding these jade G10 scales from the Blade HQ exclusive Para 3. Be sanding these down and doing a dye job on these. Then I'll also be working on the Kizer Mini Sheepdog. I'll be doing a acid etch and stone wash on this, and I'll also be doing the pocket clip and liners. Then one more project, I'll be working on the LC200N Spyderco Native 5 salt, and I'll be acid etching both the back lock and the blade, and then I'll be not sure how I'm gonna finish that yet, so we'll see. I'm gonna get into it. I'll be flipping you guys around and we'll be doing this together, so I'll just show you some of the process, you know, as I always do. So here we go. Alright guys, so how I'm starting here is I'm just taking off this grid here. This is definitely going to change the thickness a little bit, so I might have to countersink the holes a little better after this, or a little deeper I should say. And the stop pin might stick up a little bit, but I'm not worried about that. That's it, guys. It's really all it took. Trying to keep even pressure. It's pretty good. Come over to the finer grit over here. Always working on top of myself here. I don't have a lot of space, guys. I share a garage with a neighbor. And I've got a bunch of cardboard in here right now. So I'm kind of all jammed up in between projects. You can see a little bit of the texturing still. They might have been covering up some imperfections with that that peel ply. So might not look amazing. Okay, you can see where I got through all the texture there. I lost this, so gotta keep going a little bit. Okay, getting there. So I'm gonna keep going on this. I'm gonna go to one more finer grit, and then it'll pretty much be ready to go. And then I will come back and knock these edges down even more than they were, so have a nice contoured scale. See how it comes out. Alright, I'll bring you guys back after I do a little more. Do 400, and then I knock the edges down with the 220, and then kind of did the whole thing wet sanded with 400. Came out pretty good looking. You see the striations or something, you see that it's like lines in this fiberglass, but I can see it from both sides, so I know that it's just let's see if I can show you guys that. Seems to be just a pattern that's in it, so it's not something I'm going to be able to get out. So I'm gonna stick with that. Looks pretty good, pretty happy. These are nicely contoured. Gonna be much better than the stock ones. So now I'm going to go ahead and put some gloves on, and I'm going to be wiping all of my parts that are over here down and putting them on this paper towel so that they will be clean and ready to go in the acid. Then I will be acid etching them. And I'm kind of going to probably bring you back after the acid etching because there's not much to know about the acid etching except for, well, maybe I'll show you a few things. I've already showed you in previous videos some of the safety precautions I take and just getting things ready, like you know, you always want to get all your parts together before you start. You want to have some denatured water, or I'm sorry, not denatured, denatured alcohol to clean your parts. But then you also want to have denatured alcohol or acetone, and then you also are going to want to have some distilled water on you so that when your part is done, you can just go ahead and go straight into the water and kind of, you know, stop the acid from working. So definitely want to have all that together and ready to go before you start, or at least as it's etching. You can always get the other stuff together, but you never know how long it's going to take, so I always like to be just ready to go, because some of the stainless steels will take longer. Some of the definitely the carbon steels seem to take less time to etch, but it just depends on the steel. So you always want to keep checking, and you know, just make sure you're always checking and make sure it's not like going further than you wanted it to. And it is hard to see. It's very hard to see what it's doing, especially when the acid's on the blade. So you need to like dry it, wet it, dry it, and then see what it looks like, and then maybe go back in if it's not to the darkness you're looking for. So yeah, just cleaning the blade off with some acetone. You got to be careful not to touch the, you know, the nail polish that's on there that you don't want to come off, because if you touch that, you will take off the nail polish that's masking it with acetone. That's why I usually clean the blade with alcohol, so it won't take the, well, it will take some of it off, but it's not going to take all of it off. So these parts I'll go ahead and clean with, I got a little thing of denatured alcohol here. I'll bring you guys back. Alright guys, so I'm going to go ahead and go in the acid. Like I said, I'm going to do these at the same time. Go ahead and drop them in. And I am going to time it. So I'll probably turn the video off here, and I'll bring you guys back. Okay, so bringing you guys back. I still have the clip in there. So the actual liners, whatever steel that is, some kind of stainless steel. For one, it rusted very easily, and as you well know, if it rusts very easily, it's probably going to etch very easily, and it did. It etched extremely quickly. I had to take it out probably after about 2 minutes, and look how dark it is. So yeah, that was significant. And then this, whatever this is taking a lot longer. As you can see, that's still pretty light. And even the blade is done, and you'll see the blade, I'm trying to match everything, so you'll see the blade is nice and dark there. So yep. Next thing up is gonna be the LC200N, but I am not gonna start that until I get all of these pieces out, because I just want to make sure that everything's going smoothly before I put the LC200N in. Have not experienced that etching yet, just like I hadn't experienced VG10 either. The VG10 took about 12 minutes to etch to that darkness, but that could be different with your VG10, so don't think just because mine took 12 minutes. Yours is going to take 12 minutes to be that dark. Continue to check it. And when you are checking it, you do have to touch it. You have to touch it because sometimes the color will look lighter, and then you touch it and it's almost like you're painting darkness onto the blade, and what you're doing is you're actually removing metal. So you can actually see, you know, the metal being removed, and then underneath is like that darker metal. So definitely don't just trust that outside color, because it might be darker underneath, as I am doing with this clip still. But yeah, it is taking a really long time to etch. I don't know what kind of stainless steel that is, but I'll bring you guys back. Just so you know, I took my scales and I went ahead and took my countersink and just very slowly, pretty much by hand with the drill press, just turned it and deepened the countersink so that my screws are going to sit flush after sanding a little bit of the surface. So, yep, that's ready to go. Alright, so I am at about 15 minutes on the LC200M in the back here, and really nothing going on yet. So it's kind of to be expected from LC200M because it's so stain resistant. We don't expect to see much for a while. So with this, I did stonewash this, but I did it with copper instead of stones, so it's what we would call a copper wash. With this clip, the etch it wasn't like consistent, and I think it's just due to just the quality of the steel. Whatever stainless steel they used, it's just not good stuff. So I might end up getting a aftermarket clip, but the blade came out awesome. It looks really good. Really happy with that. The marks you're seeing are probably just water or some, you know, liquid on there, but it really came out good. Really love the way it came out. The liners came out awesome too. Of course, I'll show you the knife all put back together, but see how it all looks together. So this LC200N is just trucking along. The back lock as well, really nothing to show. So see as this progresses. Hopefully it starts happening soon, man. It's already been almost 20 minutes, but it's nothing like when I touch it, it's still, yeah, I do see some effects starting to happen though, so just gonna let it sit, not worry about it, and I'll come back. I'll bring you guys back at the end when it finally looks like it's happening. Alright guys, I am at almost an hour and I don't have any results really. So yeah, it's gonna have to be put off till tomorrow. I'm really not seeing anything going on. Except maybe some pitting? Is that what I'm seeing here? Wow. So I'm seeing my edge fall off here. I don't know if you guys can see this. That is actually my edge coming off on my glove. Okay. Okay, so this is definitely doing something different than I've ever seen before. Okay, I think I'm gonna put this back in for a little while longer. and just see what happens. Because at this point I'm already doing what I'm doing, so that is crazy. Never seen an edge degrade like that. It's also, I've never left it in the acid for an hour either, so makes sense. Alright, so I've got the dye and water mixture on the stove. I'm actually gonna bring it to a boil. So I'm actually going for a different color. I'm actually going to be trying something again that didn't really work out last time. So I'm using the RIT dye, the regular RIT dye, and try this again. This does not look blue. Let's see how it comes out though. I do have a glove on so I don't touch the scales. And I'm going to put them in at the same time. I did get this boiling. Now I brought it down to a simmer. Do not want to get this dye on your clothes or on your skin or on the stove. You don't want to piss your wife off. Right, I'm going to put these in at the same time. I got some wire to hang them in, and I am going to time this. Okay, they're in there. The key to this, what I missed I think the first time, was that it needs to be very hot. If the dye is not warm, it's not working. So you need to make sure that the dye is simmering. You know, bring it to a boil and then let it simmer, and it should be bubbling. And that's the key to having the dye work. And it's working very quickly here. This is almost like a, I don't know. It looks more like a purple than a blue. Is what it is at this point, guys. Ain't no going back. It should be denim blue, but I don't know. I mean, the stick isn't really denim blue, so we'll see. It's been in there about 2 minutes now, and we've already got some significant color. It's always good to test these first, you know? Like to actually test it to see how long you could put it in. But I kind of like to just go for it. I mean, I would suggest testing it if you're at home. I do like this color, but I don't know if I would call it, denim blue. It's also kind of hard to see what the end result's gonna be when it's in there. Okay, we're at about 10 minutes now. I think I'm gonna call it. I don't really see blue here. So I'm hoping this is just gonna change over time. But I am not gonna pour this out until I see it. Just in case I want to put it back on and make it darker. Okay, so I am actually seeing denim blue here. I am seeing denim blue, but it's pretty light. So I'm gonna go back in. I actually really like the color, so really looking forward to seeing what the end result is. I am gonna pause this just so I don't waste you guys' time. We did get some dyed scales. I put it back in. It took a while again. Yeah, the synthetic one definitely dyes faster. But the regular one will dye. You just have to, seems like you have to do it for longer. So it's not as dark as I probably would have wanted it, but I really do like the color a lot. I think once you put the liners in, it'll darken up a little too, of course. But pretty happy with the way they came out, and I'm gonna bring you guys back when I put it all together, and then of course with more of the dyeing. Alright guys, I'm here and I'm gonna be doing the other scales now. I got the native scales, and I do have green. This is the peacock green synthetic Rit dye more that I used in my last video for the shaman, and I'm gonna be doing these and that, so, well, at least the bottom section of them. I'm gonna try and do these half and half. I got the water to that point now. I'm sorry, the dye and water solution to that point where it's simmering. It should be fairly quickly on this one because it's, you know, it's the synthetic version. Should dye it much quicker. Oh yeah, we're already seeing it take effect. Trying to get this even. Woo, that's hot. I should not have gotten a full stainless steel pot. It was the only one I could find for cheap though. I figured it wouldn't stain as badly either. Go. Definitely don't want it to be too hot because you don't want the plastic to melt. FRN is technically just a plastic, even though it's probably could take a much higher heat than your average plastic. Gonna kind of blend it, go slowly. So what did I do? What I did is I put about 4 ounces of dye, about 8 ounces of water, and just about a teaspoon of vinegar, white distilled vinegar. It seems like the vinegar just helps the dye become a little bit more reactive. I don't know. Seemed like it helped with the other one. We're at about 6 minutes. Alright, so you're seeing it's kind of like a pretty good, pretty cool color I got going here. Really like that. Almost like an army green. I really like that color actually. But I am going to do the other half a different color. So I am kind of wasting the rest of this dye here. If you can do multiples, like if you have 2 knives you want to do in the same color, it would work out better because then you're not going to, you know, waste so much dye to just do 1 knife. Yeah, I got a really good color here. I'm happy with that. Alright guys, so here we go. Second run here. Got a pretty good boil going, you can hear it. Just gonna wait till I see it bubbling and then I'll turn it down. Yeah, here we go. Yep, alright, we got some bubbling. I'm gonna turn it down a little bit. Yeah, maybe not. Kind of want to get it. You kind of want to get it like where it's almost got that like fizz at the top, which is what you would call a simmer. So if you guys know what a simmer is, it's where you bring it to a boil and then just let it keep kind of bubbling and simmering. Alright, so we got a boil going here, and I'm gonna go ahead and put the scales in. Like I said, you don't want it to be too hot. I'm hoping, because this is a polymer, this is at FRN, so hopefully it dyes it a little darker than the G10. G10 is gonna definitely be harder to color. It's just a harder resin. That color seems a lot darker than the other one, but that's what it looked like. That is what it looked like on the other one. Oh, I got it on the Spidey hole here. I'm gonna try and clean that off. I want it to be even. It's not as blue as it is green, to be honest, guys. I actually really love the way it came out, although it's not really blue. I don't know if you guys can see this, but it looks more green than it does blue. I actually love that. Got it like a green to yellow to like a darker green. Same stuff that I used yesterday on the scales for the Para 3, but that's G10, so we got a different result here on a polymer. All right, pretty good. Okay, so because we are dyeing yellow, we're not dyeing a plain scale, like it's not white. You're gonna get yellow mixed with blue, and so I got more of a darker green. But I actually really dig the way it came out. I'm actually happy with that, so that's why it's good to test stuff. Always suggest it. I kind of just go for it. Like, I'm not really that worried about it. I'll make it work, whatever happens. That's something you learn as a carpenter, so yeah, I'm actually pretty happy with the way these came out. And got like a, what they called a peacock green that turned into an army green over yellow, fading into more of a yellow, into like a darker, almost like forest green, with a hue, like just a hue of blue, ever so slightly. So pretty happy with those. I'll bring you guys back at the end. I'll talk more about the acid etching of the LC200N, which I stopped because I had to go back the next day and put it back into the acid. It takes a lot longer with LC200N, so I'll come back. All right, guys, so bringing you back now. I am in conclusion. I finished all the modifications, you guys can see. Got the stone, acid etch with a copper wash on the blade and on the liners. I don't know what that is. I'm gonna see if I can get that off with some cleaner. Go ahead and see if I can get that off, whatever that is. Well, I'm not really sure what that is on there, but yeah, otherwise, really came out good. Pocket clip too. Got some weirdness going on there. I did have acetone. I left it in the acetone on accident and it kind of darkened. See how it darkened some spots there? So you got to be careful with any kind of solvents. That might be what that is as well. Really not sure what that is. But yeah, overall, I'm pretty happy with how this came out. Gonna go ahead and sharpen that up. The Para 3 here, man, I really love the smooth scales now. Feels really good in hand. I don't know why they don't just make them like this to begin with, to be honest. It does not feel slippery.
in the slightest. And then, I mean, with all the contouring on this knife, I don't see it actually falling out of your hand or anything. So yeah, I dig the blue too. This like denim blue, subtle but really cool. Looks great with the patina and the bronze clip. And then I bronzed the hardware a little bit, just lightly. I didn't go too dark, and I like the way it came out. The action isn't as good as before, slightly. And I think what happened is I slightly thinned the scale. So that thing I talked about before where the axis lock kind of pulls this way on the thinner scale, and just slightly, although this might kind of wear in over time. I did polish the washers, so yeah, it might just wear in. But I'm really happy with how that came out. And as far as LC200N, guys, and the scales here, yeah, guys, really happy with how these scales came out. But I want to talk about the LC200N real quick. And what I want to say is, if you guys are going to be trying to acid etch LC200N, I suggest, for one, I suggest trying it on a knife that you don't care about too much. For two, I would say that be ready for a mission, guys. It's because it took over 2 hours for me to really see the effects. Although after about an hour, you start to see the bubbling on the surface. It looked like it was having no effect, and I would see like bubbling on the surface. I could see it almost looked like air coming out of the steel. And then all of a sudden, I saw these like little black holes. I could see I'll go ahead and put a picture on it on the screen right now. I could see it looked like the top layer of metal was flaking off, almost like if you guys have ever seen chrome, when chrome gets old, like chroming, like when someone sprays chrome on, it'll flake off when it gets old. Not when it's properly chromed, but when you see that like spray chroming. And what I'll say is that's what it looked like, and it just kind of flaked off, and underneath was an extremely dark, extremely like pitted surface. So at first I'm like, oh God, what did I do to my blade? And then I don't want to give away all of the secrets because I know people probably do this to LC200N for a living, but guys, check out how this came out. Yeah. Wow. I love the way it looks, guys. It looks amazing. You guys can still see a little bit of the etch there. But the can just in the right light, see the LC right there, and then 200N. The LC is really light though, so it's hard to see. And you guys see the Spidey logo there. LC200N still there. But this is pitting, guys. This is shallower. You're seeing removed material. And yeah, so when doing this, if you are going to do this, make sure that you do extremely well at masking off any of your internal parts, like where lock faces are touching or anything like that, because I didn't go as in depth as I probably should have with some of the masking, and you'll see even there, you'll see some almost like looks like chips off the edge. In retrospect, if I could do this all over, I would just cover the whole tank with the masking with it would pretty much nail polish is what I use, guys. So I would have just covered that whole section with nail polish, as well as the sides of the bar, the back lock, because they slide along this, and also the whole internals of the back lock. Because if you guys see, you'll see the pitting there, and it does create just a little bit of a grittiness as the that back lock spring runs along it, just the slightest bit of grittiness, and where the lock lands in is having just a little bit of trouble. You might be able to see it. It's gonna wear in nicely, and I'm gonna have no issues in the long run. But at first it was really gritty. Yeah, it's working now. It was having a hard time locking in at first, but now it seems to be solid. So yeah, I'm really happy with how it came out, but I would warn you guys, just be ready, because it's gonna drastically change your knife, and just do a very good job at masking, or you're gonna end up with mechanical issues. Because if this is on a knife with bearings, I did mask off where the bearings were, as you guys saw. Well, this one doesn't have bearings, it just runs on plastic. But if this is a knife with bearings or washers, just be conscious of that and really mask off well. I would make sure it dries completely overnight or something, so that it's nice and thick and strong and dry before you go into the acid, because it's going to take a good hour and a half to really see the effects, due to that stainlessness of LC200N. It's a nitrogen steel, guys. Nitrogen steels really act differently. So yeah, it's just, I was really intrigued by it. You guys can still see where the HRC machine, where the Wilson indented there, but it's actually a lot shallower than it was because all that steel's gone. So yeah, really, really crazy, guys. I'm stoked. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope it was you learned something, or at least just enjoyed watching it. Really wanted to put a finger hole in this, but I thought that would be really just make this knife perfect. But I didn't have any bits that are hard enough. I didn't have any cobalt bits. I have tungsten carbide bits, but no cobalt bits, and a lot of the new cobalt bits will be able to drill hardened steel. But as you guys can see, my bits, they just weren't having it. So I broke one, and then I tried a different one, and that one wasn't really biting. So even some of my metalworking countersinks were having a hard time getting into it. So it's actually a good sign that this VG10 is probably fairly hard. I am going to be sending this to Kurt, so I'll look forward to seeing how that goes. Anyways, again, thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day.